Is there a supernatural dimension? A world beyond the one we know? Is there life after death? Do angels exist? Can our dreams contain messages from heaven? Can we tap into ancient secrets of the supernatural? Are healing miracles real? Sid Roth has spent over 35 years researching the strange world of the supernatural. Join Sid for this edition of It's Supernatural.
Hello, welcome to my world, where it's naturally supernatural. I wouldn't have it any other way, would you? I mean, it's the rarefied air of heaven. It's the best thing in the world. No doctor could ever come up with better medicine than the rarefied air of heaven. What if in your home, when you're praying, there were enemies in the invisible world whose assignment is to stop your prayers from getting even to the ceiling, let alone to God? What if those invisible enemies were in your city and in your state and in your country? What if you could get rid of those invisible enemies and have an open heaven for your prayer? This is what would happen. Your prayers would be answered instantly. That is normal. I want you to be normal. I'll tell you what. National leaders are saying that when they get a hold of the teaching of Dr. John Benefiel, their prayers are being answered instantly. But for you to get a grasp of what he's teaching, you've got to understand a term you've probably read in the Bible and kind of skipped over because that was in the olden days. Well, it's still around. It's the term Baal. Who's Baal?
Well, Sid, Baal is in the Bible in Matthew 12:24. He's referred to as the ruler of the demons. Now, in Matthew 12:24, it says Beelzebub or Beelzebul, and that used to throw me off because you look that up and it says Lord of the Flies, and I thought, I don't have any trouble with flies. But it's when you look at it deeper, you find out that's just another name for Baal, and Baal is the false Jesus or counterfeit Jesus. Paul talked about that. He said, you know, if someone else brings you a different gospel or a different Jesus, don't receive it. So as Jesus is the executor of the Father's will, I believe that Baal is the executor of Satan's will. And so Baal has influenced Israel. Baal has influenced the world. If he's the ruler of the demons, then we have to learn how to deal with him, how to knock him out legally, and that's the prayers that we teach.
Okay, what is the major job description? What areas does Baal influence in a country?
Well, really, Sid, he influences everything. If he's the ruler of the demons, then all of culture is under his authority in one way or another. But for instance, he is Baal Hamon, which is like Mammon or Mammon. He's the one that's stopping the great wealth transfer to the church. He's the one that is behind poverty and systemic poverty. And also, he's the one behind sexual perversion, all kinds of stuff.
Like what's going on right now in the internet pornography is just off the charts. It's not a natural thing. It's a supernatural thing, and it's not from God. So he's behind
Well,
that.
yes, and with Jezebel, and by the way, Baal is a variation of Baal. Jezebel named herself that because she was a worshiper of Baal. And in the Baal temples, which she had, she employed full-time male and female cult prostitutes who committed sex acts in the open for everyone to watch as a part of their worship ceremony. So today, when someone engages in pornography of any form, whether they realize it or not, they're engaged in Baal worship, and Baal has a legal right to operate in their lives.
How about just, I mean, it seems like almost suddenly homosexuality is normal as defined by society, not as defined by God. How did this just suddenly erupt in the world?
It's been growing for a long time. It's
Right.
been growing since the garden, if you want to put it that way. But it's been getting worse and worse because we have allowed the Baal to infiltrate our Christianity, for example. When we traded biblical holidays, for example, and biblical observances for pagan holidays, for example, then we gave Baal a legal right into our nation. And so when we lusted in our hearts, we allowed Baal to come in and bring that pornography in, including homosexuality. Because, as I said, in the Baal temples, they had male on female and female on female and male on male.
Now, it's said that this Baal is a god with a small g of 1,000 faces.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it means he's gone by thousands of different names and faces over the centuries because he wants to appear as an angel of light. You know, the Bible says that. The enemy appears as an angel of light. He wants to appear good, and he does not want us to find him out, because when we find him out, we have a chance of getting him. We have a chance of taking him down once we recognize his tactics. You know, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And the Bible also admonishes us to watch out, because your adversary is a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. The Bible also talks about in Ephesians 6:12, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. People are not our problem, but against principalities and powers. And as you said, our problem is in the unseen realm. And if we don't know how to deal with the unseen realm, like the Bible tells us to do, then we're at a great disadvantage. It's kind of like being in a boxing ring and we're boxing an invisible adversary.
All right. You said the god of Islam, Allah, is connected to Baal?
What we found out in our researches, and it's not that hard to find out, is that Allah's original name was Baal Allah, and also Hubal or Hubal, because Baal is also one of the pronunciations of Baal. And it makes sense, if he's the ruler of the demons, that all false religions would be under his orchestration.
And so Islam, Muslim,
Yeah.
Mormon,
Yeah.
witchcraft.
Yes.
But guess what? When the enemy is unmasked, you have the authority, and it's most ingenious way that God shows you to get rid of these demons. When they're gone, open heaven for every one of your needs. How'd you like that? How'd you like that?
Have you prayed over and over again, only to find your prayers unanswered?